Hi everyone. So today we're reading another chapter from my book Pieces, 52 short stories about being human. And today's story is number 18 and it's about boundaries and why it's important to have them, keep them, and respect them. So I'm just going to read a little bit. Just a tiny short one. The importance of healthy boundaries in any relationship cannot be overstated. Healthy boundaries keep us safe, our values intact, and allow us to be open and vulnerable around others, which in turn brings greater intimacy and fulfillment to our relationships. In order to set a boundary, you must map the territory first, dig inward, and find who you truly are. Where is your light and where is your darkness? Where your wounds and scars are. Make sure you truly understand what really matters to you, what your needs are and what you can and can you not live with or without. Once you know where are the lines that should not be crossed in order for you to remain safe with your values intact, draw them clearly and enforce them consistently. Crossing your boundaries after first warning must have consequences that you enforce without fail or excuse. I had learned since to draw the line clearly, to stand my ground and to follow through if the first warning has not been heeded. My boundaries are rarely crossed nowadays. I deal with occasional perpetrators kindly, respectfully, and consistently. There's obviously much more to this chapter. It's a pretty short chapter. It's just like 1, 2, 3.5 pages. And I suppose a lot of it is written from the perspective of female kind of navigating our world, because that's my experience. I am a female, heterosexual female, and I had to navigate this world and had experiences that affected my well-being because I didn't have healthy boundaries in place, because I was people pleasing, because I wasn't able to say no, didn't feel comfortable saying no in certain circumstances and so forth. So this chapter explores all that, consent. It's not just consent, it's also what I found that I was often giving consent when I didn't really want to. It's because I didn't have the boundaries. This is not necessarily about putting blame on individual people, namely men. This is more, I think, if there is any blame, it lays with society as a whole, with the way we were brought up, the way the media portray things, the movies we watched, and kind of what we became to believe was a normality, what I became to believe was a normality. And it wasn't until very recently, really just the last few years, thanks to therapy and some coaching work and lots of self-digging and introspection, where I've learned to set healthy boundaries, and I also learned to respect those in others, because I find when I didn't have boundaries myself, I find it really hard to accept that other people might have them. I was taking it personally. So for example, I've had a friend, this is not in a book, it's just my experience. A friend, well, I still got that friend, like we're really good friends actually, but when we started our friendship, it very quickly became quite enmeshed. We were almost like teenagers. There was real closeness, but there were no boundaries on either of our sides. And we kind of really enmeshed with each other and became quite vulnerable, but not in a healthy way. And so when the time came, that my friend, actually, she started to, for other reasons as well, dig into this part of herself, and she started to put boundaries up. I felt hurt by it, as if she somehow put the boundaries up in order to hurt me, which of course is not the case. She put them up in order for her not to get hurt. And this is not, let's not mistake it for putting up walls and barricades to keep people out. That's not what she was doing. She was just putting healthy boundaries, healthy lines in the sand that are just not meant to be crossed. It's just, okay, this is what I need for my well-being. This is the space around me that I need. And if you cross that boundary, my well-being will be affected, and that's not on. And we all should have these healthy boundaries of what's okay for us, what isn't. And really, hopefully one day we'll also all respect one another's boundaries, not take them personally, that, just because someone doesn't like me, I don't know, telling them, being sarcastic, for example, because I love sarcasm. I like that part of humor, I enjoy it when it's done to me, and I enjoy it when I do it. But I've also over time learned to understand that it's not for everyone. That sarcasm can be hurtful as well, that it can trigger people. It's just you say the wrong thing and can be really hurtful. So I've learned to do it with people who I know well only, and so I do it in areas that are safe, and do it with permission, so to speak. When we know that the dynamic is back and forth, that it's mutual, that we both enjoy that part of, that humor is mutual, that it's not just one-sided, which in the past I didn't really pay attention to. It's not that I didn't care, I just didn't pay attention to. It just was something I was doing, and wasn't really considering other people. And so when my friend put her boundaries up and said, okay, this bit is not appropriate and this bit is not okay for me, I took offense at it, and I felt hurt by it, so she was somehow criticizing me or my way of being, which again was not the case, but it's how I felt. But fortunately at the time I was already in therapy and was capable of awareness and introspection, so I looked into being triggered by that myself and started to get into it a bit deeper myself, and actually as a result, not only we renewed our friendship, and it's much better now because we both have clear boundaries, and what's okay for us, what isn't, but also all my relationship has improved, because as a result I've found what my boundaries really are, what really is important for me, where the line truly lies, and all my relationships improved, with my friends, with my family, even with the father of my child. We're obviously not together, but we communicate for his sake, my baby's sake, and we manage in the relationship pretty well. We quite friendly and polite. When we have disagreements, we deal with them like adults, which is quite refreshing. But I can see that this is a big time down to the fact that I have clear boundaries, and that's if some things are just not acceptable to me, I state it very clearly, and I do not let the trespass be done. If you cross my boundaries repeatedly, you're out of my life. As a friend, or as a family member, obviously, with co-workers or people outside, it's slightly different, and we have to handle these situations slightly differently. I'm talking about personal relationships. Why would you keep someone close to you if they disrespectful, if they cannot accept that, there are things that are unacceptable to you, I cannot respect that, then why would you keep those people nearby? So that's what this chapter is really about, where it came from, and I do share some kind of intimate experience of what was it like for me, having those boundaries crossed and letting them be crossed, because that's issue in itself. When we not only don't know what our boundaries are, but even if we do, we let them be crossed, and that's really unhealthy. It can be really harmful, actually, long term, and lead to anxiety, depression, even suicidal thoughts, because all that it's kind of digging into your self-worth, and it can expose lots of triggers, really not healthy dynamics when you don't have boundaries. So there's plenty of literature on boundaries, some better than others, but I can really recommend looking into that. Maybe have a look at Eckhart Tolle, what he's got to say about boundaries. He's pretty good on that subject as well. Happy to talk to you, so feel free to message me, and I'll be happy to expand on perhaps your particular personal situation, or just read my book. All right, see you soon.